Thank you very much for the invitation to Mina 2015. This is an honor for me. I'm really excited to present you experiment in documentary making or documentary filmmaking and a collaborative dynamic. We've been talking about this a couple of months ago with Grant and IUT students. Let me just share my screen with you and start my presentation. Okay? Terrific. So my paper is about collaborative documentary filmmaking, as I told you, and of course create this experience mobiles and web apps. And the first thing I have to stop right now is if it's possible to create a documentary in a collaborative way. Of course, there's this professor in London, Mandy Rose, who's really well known about documentary and collaborative dynamics, and she classified four kinds of participation in documentary filmmaking. The first one, she says, is the co-creative relationship, and a good example of that is Video Nation. And the second one is the participant observers, in which the good sample is Life in a Day, made in YouTube. Remember that a couple of years ago. And the third classification is the community of purpose, in which activism and political ideas about a community is really important. And the traces of a multitude the final classification made by Mandy Rose, the professor. And of course, we have to mention 24 frames, 24 hours from Professor Max Lesher, in which everyone puts a little input, and the whole multitude or participants create a big documentary made of that. Okay, of course it's possible to create a collaborative documentary. I want to present an experience I had with this student in Salford University in the UK, which is Here and There. We named that Here and There because we use, of course, mobiles to create the video for video editing and shooting and everything, and also we used augmented reality apps. In one, the only one we use is Sphere, which is a really interesting augmented reality app that gives you the opportunity to create a sphere around you, made by a lot of photos taken by the mobile phone, and you can create a sphere made of photos of the place you are in that moment, and you can share that with Sphere. So using Sphere and the mobile phone and maybe iMovie to create a nice video editing, we had to create a step-by-step methodology to accomplish our goal. So in that moment, a couple of a year and a half ago, was part of a closed Facebook group, which was MoCo 360. And in MoCo 360, we created several ideas of collaboration, filmmaking, documentary, and on. And we tried to create something with augmented reality apps in filmmaking. We test a lot of apps like Byclone, like Sphere, and then we decide, a couple of guys, we decide to use Sphere as the main app to create a collaborative documentary. In Facebook group, we had these long chats about what we wanted to do with the mobiles and on, and we share a document in which we create a sort of a storyboard, putting every input made in Bogota and in Manchester. And then we put a date to start shooting, creating spheres, of course, because the good part in this collaborative experiment was to create a sphere in the place we were and to exchange those spheres each other, and we create a really nice experience with that. So we use not only those apps to create that, we create music using GarageBand or maybe Fruity Loops in Android to create music. We use Notebeats, which is a really nice app to create music, and the music you're going to listen in a couple of moments were made with Notebeats. And then finally, this is a short sample of Here and There. If you let me share.
Ah, yes, that's normal. It's I think Felipe is using a Wi-Fi, and when you share your screen and you play video within a shared live broadcast system, most of the time you use Wi-Fi. Excuse my French, but it's back. So you lose the thing. Yeah, so it will come back very soon. I hope. Now it's just time for Felipe to realize that he lost the connection and to come back. And it's the kinds of that lag. I can go in front of the camera. I can talk to the camera if you want. I'm sure Felipe will come back, and I will try to tweet him right now.
There he is.
Oui, technology.
Just when they become seamless, see what they mean?
Yes, yes. I have to say that this is the beauty of Mina as well. We so sorry about that. It's about being on the cutting edge. About innovation. Sorry? Yes, yeah. Because of doing the share screen with a video and the live broadcast. Most of the systems, they don't handle so much data at once. Oh. That's right. I will just try to use the chat to communicate with him as well. Yeah, but it's just to illustrate the point that mobile innovation. So we're pushing the limits very far away. Chat here. Hey, Felipe, we lost you. No video. Okay. Ta-da! But you know, those things, it's very good. Those accidents were part of the stories of Mina. We will write a thick book in 10 years' time. And when you go back, you say, oh, yeah, so those guys, they did that, and ho, ho, ho. It's for the good things. So Felipe is not here. Okay. I will just put that one here as well. Everywhere. And mind you, it was free as well, so we haven't paid anything. So thank you, Mr. Google.
Max, would you like to jump in? Do you want to hack Felipe's session? Why not? You know. Yes, please. Jump in. Hack Felipe's session.
Well, I thought before there's silence, or you go earlier to lunch. I don't know.
That's why you're jumping in. You want some food. We can put it through the webcam.
Dropbox, please.
It's called Lunchbox.
We transfer.
Move to next and then try and get Philippe back.
Yeah, that would be okay. So Marsha said she doesn't want to see you. She doesn't want to talk to you, and we should have Nick presentation and come back to Felipe presentation.
Sweet, you've got someone great. Boy.
Okay. Easy.
Time to get a better backdrop.
Nick, sorry about that, but it's part of a journey of being a MENA member as well. But Max, can I ask you a favor? Can you please just tweet or get in touch with Felipe and explain him the situation while we've got those guys presenting here, please? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks. Thanks very much. Okay, so guys, you need your presentation, and it's somewhere here. Is it?
Yep.
Okay, I will leave the camera rolling. You know your way, Nick? Okay, I'll leave it to you. Okay, thank you. We'll just get some stuff open first. What? Is that the right one?
Felipe is
Talk louder.
Okay. Hi guys, we're Nick and Raj from Animation College. This is a group thing, so there's actually, I guess we're the core researchers, but there's guys at the college in our research support group that contributed to this concept. So we're basically just going to talk to you about an app concept that we have that we want to develop and talk about just a few related kind of contexts. So I'm going to present the first part, and then Raj is going to be available for technical questions. So we've got an app concept that allows a group of people to simultaneously photograph a subject with their mobile devices to automatically assemble a 3D object. The presentation is just going to look at a few things, so some potential pros and cons for the app as a tool for either journalism, marketing, or art making. So it could be used in a variety of ways. So one of the first directions was like an idea that this could be a cool kind of alternative media journalistic tool. So we're looking at traditional photojournalism and how it seeks to objectively capture a moment, but that brings up the idea that there's an individual photographer, and while they may be following ethical standards and doing their best to be objective, they obviously have their own personal point of view. So that's going to influence the way they frame the photograph. And also, if it's traveling through the mainstream media, then it's obviously going to be filtered at another level. So we end up with something that's actually quite constructed. As you can tell, it kind of feels like an oil painting. It's got kind of messages about heroism in it. We don't really know what the real story is. So the photograph is despatialized. So it's a 2D image, both literally and figuratively. They suggest that perhaps if the event's photographed from many perspectives by many photographers, we can reconstruct the event in 3 dimensions. So the resulting model figuratively and metaphorically represents many perspectives. So the significance of that event is actually a collective thing, comes a group recognition. So in theory, the idea of there being a mediating effect could be reduced. And so we've added the element of space to the despatialized photograph. So that was kind of one of the first ideas we had. So there's pros and cons to this. The exciting thing was, it could be this really cool way to provide another avenue for alternative media reportage. In theory, it means that citizens could group together to report events in an unbiased manner. It's like in theory, but obviously things like the ethics behind it, the copyright issues, the ownership issues are very cloudy. I guess it ties into the whole surveillance problem as well. It's also could be quite impractical. There's probably ways around the impracticalities, but then it would require a whole lot of more kind of thought and preparation and organisation. But some key questions are, how can participants photograph events they're immediately involved in? For example, soldiers in war zones, or citizens in riots or protests, or in areas where there are not actually any crowds available to do this. So that, so we were just thinking, well, this actually suits something where we have a more organised event with stable crowds, which led into a more commercial application for this concept. Just open up the video. Where is it?
The inspiration for this idea came from looking at some existing tools. Autodesk's 123D Catch, which builds and textures 3D models from photos, 3D printing technology, and external flash, which allows you to control 2 camera flashes simultaneously. These tools got us thinking, what if you were at an historical event, like a political rally, or a major sports game? Let's say you're at the Rugby World Cup. Before the game starts, you sign up to a special service through which you can pre-order 3D models or sculptures of the event in exchange for the photos you take. There are hundreds or even thousands of others signed up to the same service, taking photos of the event from every conceivable angle. Each photo is geotagged and time-stamped. The photos and the metadata are then sent to a database. An algorithm will sort through the database and select similar photos that were taken at the same time. The photos will then be processed by automated software, similar to 123D Catch, which will create models of the event. These could be 3D printed at any scale for personal or public use as commemorative items or as three-dimensional historical records.
Where the hell is it? So this has its own set of problems and affordances. So it becomes a fairly clear cut who owns what. So we see a lot of commercial possibilities, subscription fee, selling the final sculpture. There's lots of opportunities to, you know, marry up with events and do marketing and advertising and things like that. Can build a community of people that are interested in participating. And this could all be driven by competition. So if there's like the Rugby World Cup and we're saying, you know, let's try and capture the most exciting try of the match or something like that, and so we're driving interest in that way. But then on the other hand, there's a myriad of technical challenges. So they mainly relate to accuracy and distortion. So accessibility and occlusion. So that really is just talking about, do we have enough angles? Do we have enough good photographs that are not obscured? Reflective surfaces cause a lot of disruption, and obviously movement is probably one of the larger issues at stake. And then just creating the algorithm that can find and match the common features. So we're going to have this, there'll be databases with masses of images in there. How do we sort those and get the best images, which is slightly mitigated by the idea of having competitions to focus the photography. And then all of those issues lead to the resolution and quality of the end product. So would people want to buy it if it's too highly distorted? So that question led to the next kind of train of thought was, well, are all of these technical issues a problem, or could they be an affordance? So there are three kind of trains of thought from all of the other things we looked at. So the technical problems could be turned around as an affordance. The idea of the spatialized photograph is still really interesting and could be explored in a more of an artistic way. And the idea of participatory generated artwork and the idea of the collective experience is also very interesting. So we're thinking we could actually use this more as an experimental tool. So just quickly, I want to look at the three different tracks. So this is somebody that's actually taking advantage of the technical problems. Lorna Barnshaw, this is a work called Replicants, and she's looking at the idea that we're made of data, so our DNA is data, but now our digital identities are data, and what's the relationship between those two things? So it's basically a classic interpretation of Baudrillard's idea of the simulacra. Her experiments investigate the exterior relationship between our physical and online selves, and how technology affects our sense of identity. And then actually printing them out becomes a tactile expression of that idea. And for me anyway, it's an invitation to consider, you know, where do we go from here in terms of as our relationship between technology becomes more blurred. So just quickly, there's the three experiments. So this is a 1-2-3D catch result. So it can actually be quite distorted. The goal is not to the commercial goal is not to have something like this, but it can actually be used to produce some quite interesting results. This is Cubify Capture, which translates video footage into a 3D print, which creates even more distortion. And then this is just traditional laser scanning. So this is, you know, as accurate as we get, I guess, but you can still see it's quite disturbing and confronting. And then the second thread is the idea of that spatialized photograph. So this idea kind of takes that a little bit further and adds like the fourth dimension of time to the idea. So these are some experiments called motion structures that a guy called Ray Garcia and his team have been playing with. Basically, they've created a plugin to some medical imaging software that can compress video frames into a single object, and this is actually a 90-second Game of Thrones intro that's been compressed into an object. And then the third thread is the idea of a collective experience of an event. So this is something I built with a software engineer a couple of years ago. It's a participatory audience-generated art where they're building their own avatars and programming them with behaviors. And after they've built those avatars, they share data between each other. So the different avatars will transform each other and create a new artwork. So as each person travels through the installation, they're continually programming how the artwork's going to behave. Yep. Okay, so yeah, almost there. So this highlights the potential of the app as a way to collectively generate artworks with ideas of identity as data. So those are the three threads. They could be used as a reflexive art making tool. It's another way this could go. So we're just thinking where to next. Basically, we want to build the commercial product, but we're aware that a lot of interesting things could happen along the way, and personally I'm quite interested in looking at the mistakes and seeing where they might lead. There's quite a lot of potential there. So yeah, so thanks for inviting us. We're open up for questions.
If you don't mind, we will change the plan. Could you hold your question? We will try to catch up with Felipe, and we can have 3 or 4 questions for both of you, or Felipe together, and then we can break down for lunch. I can't see Felipe, actually. Oh, no, that's not. Okay. We've got some sound from somewhere. Okay. All right, so because Felipe is not back, do you have any question for Come I thought it was Felipe online with the sound, but it's somewhere else. Yes.
Not a question, it's more kind of a comment piece.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be interesting if you moved away from the indexicals, I guess. One of the things that occurs to me is that you're part of what you're talking about is kind of collaborative motion capture. And the sport example is really interesting because there are lots of people that recreate sporting events in like video, for example. It's not about creating something that's authentic.
Hello, buddy.
Recreating things in a different medium. So you could do a collaborative motion capture that translates into something other than sculpture. It could translate into, say, animation.
Yeah, I like
it. A really attractive toy.
I like the idea that there's an event and it is an actual thing, but there's many people involved and they've all got their own subjective interpretation. So the idea was to try and see if we could find an average of that, I guess. That does bring up the idea of subjectivity and the distortion is very interesting. I think that's something we could actually, I'm more interested in anyway, as to distortion.
You're interested in more users, more participants as possible.
Yeah, that's the idea with the is to get closer and closer to something that's considered accurate. You need more angles and more, and also because you got to get the right time. So the more people there are, the closer you get to having an ideal moment. It's just so much distortion. There's so much distortion involved. That's kind of interesting. So I'm trying to create something that's accurate with the distortion as a byproduct. Would be more interesting.
Translating into animation means you've got more aggressive possibilities for me. There could be more people.
Yeah, I'm not. That'd be
Automated.
sounds difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll just like, yeah.
Pick up your microphone, please, Max. It's Max.
All these different perspectives and moments, an object that is the sum of various moments, which is why the injection of the time element is so interesting. Think about it sounds like the technology is a mediating tool, especially between the forces of competition and collaboration. Because if you, for instance, are using factors like quality of image to determine which are the ones which are valid.
Yeah, then you bring back the judge, is the judgment being the name.
That's right. Yeah. And have you thought about what are the minimal number of participants in order for it to work?
It's subjected to the event, so there's no limit for this. Generally, as per the if you take as a 1-to-3D catch as an example, as a reference, then it's needed around 20 to 40 images to get matching points to get the 3D model of the matching points. So it's at 20 to 30 as per the existing 1-to-3D catch, but it's a future stuff, so there's nothing thought of. It's because the event, you never know how many people comes. It's like maybe 5,000, 10,000, and depends on the event also. And again, there is some technical aspects also need to be considered. When it is at a stage, then the people will be only have access to only a certain area, whereas in a stadium you have access to 360 area. So there's some points to be considered to get the this idea to be worked out actually.
You also said that it clarified copyright issues for you. Does it really? If you have, does that mean you only own a small portion of whatever you contribute?
I think what it does is it basically says I will contribute X number of photos, and in exchange I will have access to models. So it's really, it just depends on the contract that's signed, what the terms and conditions are. So it's just kind of an exchange.
I'm just curious about Felipe and sorry. So, if you don't mind to hold your questions for Nick and Rash, so very, very valid questions. But if we could move back to Felipe, just for Felipe to finish his presentation and ask questions to Felipe, and then we can grab at food, just teasing me for the last half an hour. I'm coming, honey. and then we can carry on the conversation. Okay. Felipe, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, so sorry. So don't do that again, naughty boy. Don't play video while you are live streaming again, please. Okay. So let's just use still images. Google doesn't like that. It's free, but it doesn't like it. So if you don't mind to carry on the presentation just after the sample of here and there, so we will not see it here. We'll play it during lunchtime. I can go on YouTube and play to everyone.
Okay.
So if you want just to carry on, and we can go through the questions and rock and roll. Okay.
Terrific. So let me share the screen. Okay.
But it will go well.
How will this
Yes.
sound right now? Is it bad?
The sound is good. Yeah, the sound is good. Stop moving. Don't breathe anymore. The sound is good.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I was after the cut to show you and yes, we try to create some documentaries in a collaborative way. For instance, the thing I'm showing you right now is an attempt we tried with Professor Dan Wagner in Unitech University in Oakland using iCloud, which we try to share our footage with each other to create another here and and of course we share our reviews, we share our still photographs of the place where, and there's
Felipe?
hello?
We can't see your screen, Felipe. Yeah. I like
You
it
what?
live
Sorry?
and in direct. Yes, yes, now we've got your screen. Okay, we can see that
Okay.
now. We can see Cameo. We can see Cameo now.
Okay, let me just go back to presentation. Okay, for instance, is a really good example of a collaborative app that lets you create amazing videos in collaboration with Facebook friends, and it's really good to create not only music videos, which is the main focus of Cameo, but any kind of videos with really nice video filters, a really simple video editing platform, in collaboration, as I said, with friends and on. This is a sample of a creation with Cameo using Facebook Friends or Facebook platform for that collaborative filmmaking. And of course, there's some more like CrowdSync, which looks really interesting for creating, for instance, events like Vibebound. And the Clinch app is also a collaborative app that lets you create collaborative videos, of course. But the final one I want to show you is Webcam that was ended a couple of months ago, sadly, because it was a really interesting and simple platform to create collaborative documentaries with your mobiles. Android or iOS, or from a website, from a web browser. Sorry. This is an example of that. This is the plane, which is which is a sample of what you could create with Webcam. With Professor Lauren and Max, of course, we create this in which everyone put an input, a piece of footage, and we create a music video with several friends worldwide. Okay. So, in the end, the final question could be, what's the right category for here and there according on Mandy Rose collaborative documentary category? The most accurate one could be the co-creative relationship category, because yes, if you are creating a video with friends, with overseas, yes, you are putting an input, and there's a director role or an author role in this social creation, which is really interesting in these times, in these days. So I think this is really possible to create collaborative documentaries, and would be really interesting products in the end in this web 2.0 era. So thank you very much for the presentation. I'm really excited to be here again. A big hug from Bogotá.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for Felipe. We'll take 2 questions for Felipe. Do you have any question for Felipe about collaboration, documentary, participatory? Probably to clarify, we did an implementation with JumpCam. It was a fantastic app. It was, because I think Microsoft bought it and just killed it. But technically speaking, it's outside of the market. It doesn't exist anymore. Yes.
Yeah, so what sort of events do you see where a method of creating a documentary like this would be applicable or suitable for?
Okay, do you want to come here and repeat your question to Felipe, please?
Thank you. Hi, Felipe. Hi. So what sort of events? Hello. So what sort of events do you see where this type of documentary filmmaking would be applicable or apt for?
So, sorry, I can understand really good because it's a really low audio. Can you repeat that again, please?
Okay, I'll try to say it simpler as well. What sort of documentaries do you want to make using this type of technology?
This is a really good question because the sort of documentaries we could start talking about Bill Nichols categories, for instance. Everybody knows that. But I would like to deeper into Mandy Rose categories because it's a new kind of creation because there's no a clear author role in these new creations, social creations. Actually, you can create an observable documentary as well as a documentary with a voiceover or what you want, but there's always the possibility of a creative conflict with people making a documentary in which there's no director, there's no author. So I think this is really exciting time to create maybe documentaries.
Yes, okay, thank you. Just to clarify the situation, JobCam, for instance, you all contributed to the timeline, and each contributor could shuffle the video clips the way they wanted. So it means you've got the same content, but the narration can be totally different according to the user. So all of a sudden, that's how you become author, contributing to that, so you can get a different outcome. So it's that sort of thing. So coming back to your notion of truth or storytelling, it's about your personal perspective, your personal belief, your personal value system as well, but with the same content, the same data, I would say. Any other one more question for Felipe? No, Felipe, everyone wants to eat. They're all looking at you like that. Food. So hey, muchas gracias again. So we'll be in touch very soon. Again, thank you very much for your contribution. Much appreciated that, especially very late for you. And my apologies about the glitches and the technical problem. Okay. So thanks again, Felipe. So I declare